Well, hello. It's me again. It's been a long time. I think it's been 2 years, right, since we did season 1, and I am absolutely over the moon to be back. I'm going to try to make this a Monday thing. Every Monday you'll get your podcast. I've had a few people saying, please do 2 a week or more, but I'll try my best. At least we'll do 1 a week on Mondays. So yes, we're on to season 2. I'm looking at the curriculum and it looks very interesting this season. Lots of topics we didn't cover. You know, we're looking at celebrities, AI, internet, social media. These are all huge topics in the IELTS exam, but also in life in general. You know, I say to my students, okay, it's great to study IELTS, but a lot of the lessons there you can apply to life generally. So here we are. Season 2 is here. I won't talk anymore. We're going to get straight into the episode with today's topic, which is accommodation. So we're talking about accommodation. What is accommodation? This is different to last season. We did home. Accommodation is broader. It includes any type of home or where you stay while you're on holiday. I very often say to my students, they go traveling, and I say, what type of accommodation did you stay in? I didn't say, did you stay in a hotel? Did you stay in a villa? I asked them what kind of accommodation, because that is such a broad term. And that's what we'll see today, accommodation. I imagine there's going to be questions related to not only home, but also perhaps traveling, accommodation you like to use when you're out of your home. So that's today's topic. Now, to answer the questions today, I will be using my own academy structures because they are so helpful for covering any question that you might feel discomfort with. You have your structure, you follow it every time. And this will be available to you from now on. I mentioned it last week. There is an IELTS Plus Total Speaking textbook. Now I'll show you here. This is the IELTS Plus Total Speaking textbook, and it's available on my website, britplus.net. It includes all of my academy structures, so you'll be able to answer any question using these structures, and all of season 1 language, all of season 2 language, and you'll be able to follow along with the podcast. So that's what I'll be using today, but I will not look at it while I'm answering questions, and I haven't planned my questions. I've had a few comments, I remember in season 1, saying, Jack, you've got your notes there. I promise you, this is all freestyle, it's off the top of my head, but it's using the principles that I teach. So I've talked a lot. We haven't even started accommodation yet. I am going to start now. And as we did in season 1, we warm up with some part 1s. I've got them here, so I'm going to read number 1. Is there anything you would like to change about your current accommodation? I currently live in a nice, slightly small flat in the east of Seoul in the suburbs, and I'm quite happy there. But if I could change one thing, I'd probably change the size of the flat, because I have a daughter, so there's 3 of us in our family, and it's a little on the small side. If possible, I'd love to move to a bigger flat so we can live a little more comfortably. Good. Okay. Next question. What type of accommodation do you prefer when you travel? This has changed, but nowadays I prefer hotels. The reason for this is I really value my sleep when we're traveling so that I can do more things during the day. And I find that hotels provide the best comfort and sort of soundproofing so that I'm able to sleep deeply and I wake up feeling fresh in the morning. So, hotels. Good. Okay. Well, we're through part 1, straight into part 2. And as I did in season 1, I'm going to follow the same idea, the same structure. And in season 1, I answered part 2 questions. I didn't give myself time to prep. I didn't give myself that 1 minute planning time. But I think, using my structure, I'll be able to freestyle, as I said before, these questions. And let's see how I do. I will put 2 minutes on the clock. So 2 minutes on the clock. Describe the accommodation you live in right now. I'd like to tell you about my flat in the east of Seoul. We moved there 7 years ago, and we chose that flat because it was a reasonable size. It's a nice neighborhood. The location is good in Seoul. It's very accessible to other areas of Seoul, particularly my office here. And it was affordable, most importantly. The price was quite reasonable. It's our first house as a family, so that's why we chose there. And we've been living there happily for 7 years. So let me tell you a little more about this house. It's got 3 bedrooms, living room, kitchen, toilet, very typical flat in Seoul. It's a little on the small size now that I have a child, so we are thinking about moving. But I think the best feature of this house is that it looks over the Han River. The Han River is a river that goes through the center of Seoul, and we're on the east side, and out of our window you can see the Han River, and the sun, if you're lucky, you'll get a lovely sunset that sets over the river. So that's definitely the best feature. It's also, as I said, affordable, and the utilities particularly are affordable in this place. So for me personally, it's been a wonderful place to start out our journey and start out on the property ladder. And I hope to, in the future, move to somewhere bigger. And perhaps more importantly, with some better soundproofing. This place, the walls are a little bit thin. So that's going to be what... There we go. Okay. Well, that wasn't too bad for a first time. And I felt like I used my structure well. I went through the past, present, and I was just starting to talk about the future then. Also, one more note. I should have said this earlier, but obviously I do have my words for today's topic, accommodation, my words and expressions. If you watch the video, if I do use one of these words, I'll highlight it. So while you're watching the video, you'll see the subtitles. I'll put them up there and I'll highlight the key words from the textbook. So you'll be able to check that as you're watching. Okay, well, let's move on to some part 3s. So for a lot of my students, part 3s are very difficult. But we're aiming for around 1 minute answers. That would be great. So the first question is, what are the advantages and disadvantages of living in a house compared to an apartment? I would say one of the key advantages of living in a house is space. You've got much more space in the house, probably, and certainly in England, you're more likely to have a garden. So that's one of the best advantages. In terms of disadvantages, I would say maintenance. Perhaps maintenance cost is higher, but from speaking to people who live in houses, it just seems like there's a lot more to do in terms of DIY and fixing things. So there's more problems can occur in a house than an apartment. Good. So that's a quick tip I'll give you when you get these questions. What are the advantages and disadvantages of X blank? Try to just give one of each. It's much cleaner. If you start listing things, you'll stay very shallow in your answer. But I say, okay, the key advantage is this, and this is why. Perhaps an example. The key disadvantage is this, This is why. Example. So try to focus on one of each. That's a bit cleaner, as I said. Next, part 3. Do you think the government should provide housing for people who cannot afford it? Yes, I do think they should provide housing. I think a lot of people nowadays really struggle to buy a house. That's the dream, is to buy a house, I guess. I don't know in your country, but certainly in Korea, it's very, very difficult now. And I think if the government can provide housing that you have to pay, the tenant must pay some form of rent, and perhaps the tenant should pay utilities and all these things, but it's much more affordable because the government is supporting it. I think that's very necessary nowadays. The other issue that is happening here in South Korea is a low birth rate. So of course, if you can have a stable housing and, not too expensive, you're more likely to have more babies, more children. So I think it is necessary for the government to support that. Final question today. What do you think the housing market will look like in the next 10 years? Wow. Okay. It's difficult to say, but I think in 10 years, the size of houses are going to get smaller because the trend is towards smaller families and living alone or dinks, double income, no kids. So I think the housing is going to get smaller, and I think that perhaps people are going to move more away from cities. That could be a trend. And I don't know. I hope it becomes more affordable in the next 10 years. So I think there could be a number of changes over the next 10 years. But as I said, very difficult to say. So yeah, with that last question, you are going to get questions where you have to sort of predict the future or predict something that is very difficult or just simply is a difficult question. So I always say something like, it's difficult to say, but, or I say, I'm not exactly sure, but. So one of these phrases at the start of the sentence, it makes you sound more fluent. It makes you sound more natural. So I'd recommend getting a couple of patterns for difficult questions. So I think that's everything for Season 2, Episode 1. There are going to be 40 episodes, so this is number 1. We've got so many ahead of us. As I said, you can get the textbook on BritPlus.net and you'll be able to follow along. Lots and lots of things coming, lots of tips, bonus episodes, so I have a lot planned and I'm really excited. So happy to be back. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please comment. Whether you're listening on a podcast app, please give me your review there if you can. If you're on YouTube, say hello. I will say hello back. I'd love seeing all of your comments. I read every single one. So have a wonderful week this week. Study very hard. And I'll be back next week on Monday for our next topic, adventure. Very exciting. Okay, see you very soon. Bye-bye.